And we are now recording. I'm going to share my screen with everyone. Come on.
What?
All right, doesn't want to share my screen. I'm going to try that again. All right. So what you should see on the screen now is the SCA Harassment and Bullying Policy. The SCA prohibits harassment and bullying of all individuals and groups. Participants engaging in this behavior are subject to appropriate sanctions. If you are subjected to harassment, bullying, or retaliation, or if you become aware of anyone being harassed or bullied, contact a seneschal, president of the SCA, or your kingdom's board ombudsman. All right. And now I'm going to say, welcome to class. And without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Sefa.
Yay! Hi, everyone. I am Sefa Rose on Facebook in the SCA. I'm known as Viscountess Sefa Hrafnasdottir. And today we're going to be making the fitted Viking dress. Quotation marks, because this is really just an early period dress. This dress can be used for Slavic, Rus, Kievan Rus, Viking. It's a very universal pattern. I highly recommend it anytime that you want a fitted early period garment. There should be a handout that has been linked to the chat. If you have any problems accessing it, please let us know, because we're going to be sort of following that and going along, and you're going to be able to sort of, have an idea what I'm talking about as I talk about it. So don't be surprised. I'm scrolling through the document as you guys are looking through it, because it's also my go-to doc. So I know what I'm talking about. So I do apologize. So every new person starts somewhere. And most of these places that they start is the T-tunic dress when they start sewing. So almost every pattern you learn is based on the basic T-tunic. T-tunics are a great way to give any novice seamstress or seamster the necessary skills to move beyond that pattern onto a whole new level of sewing. Once I learned how to make this dress, it became my favorite pattern. I created it over and over again for myself, my family, my friends, basically anyone who asked, I'm like, oh, I can show you how to do the thing. And I love to show. It saves fabric, a lot of fabric. It's simple to measure out once you get through the math part, of course. And then it can be used to create a myriad of different garments. This includes tunics, underdresses, overdresses, apron dresses, everyday wear dresses, coats. I could probably go on for almost every garment that goes on your body, except for a panel. This pattern can be used for that. As with most early period garments, there are very few extant pieces in existence. However, because I like to show that I have curves and not always look like I'm wearing a sack, it happens. I love to use this pattern, even though it's not fully documented. There's bits and pieces, but just like mostly everything early period, a lot of it is guesswork. So we're just going to try and plug right along. We're going to try and keep this to an hour. It might go to an hour and a half, and I'm so sorry if it does, but we're going to try and get through it really fast. So we're going to get started with measurements. If you've already taken your measurements, great. If not, great. We'll work through it. For those people who have already taken their measurements, listen to how I'm going to say to take your measurement. And if you didn't take it that exact way, just take it again. No big thing. Let me see if I can find my helper real quick. Penelope. Okay. Oh, there she comes. Because you shouldn't ever do measurements on yourself because of reasons. You're moving your body around. So your very first measurement that you're going to do is going to be your neck. The neck measurement really has nothing to do with the fit of the garment. It just lets you know, where you at least the minimum width of the circle for your head for when your garment is finished, which that comes into play later. So most people go, Sheva, why don't you measure the head? Because you're going to want a keyhole. No one wants, well, maybe some, Victorian or Elizabethan where they wear the collars. No one wants anything right up high on the neck. If you do, okay, you do you. So your neck is going to be really easy. Just take it in, swallow, so that way it's not super tight, because if you have it super tight and you swallow, you're going to choke. So make sure you swallow to get that loose measurement. And then write it down. I have letters marked. Keep it as letters because those are going to come in later for when we do the math. Your second measurement, measurement B, is going to be your arm size. This is what's going to determine your sleeve head. To determine your arm size, you're going to find the armpit and you're going to wrap it around your tape and you're going to find your shoulder point. You're going to put your hand down and then you're going to let that actually come. You'll see if you have it raised up, it's going to be an inch smaller. So make sure you put your arm back down after you've gotten it all marked. And then write it down. And then we're just going to keep on going down the line. So your arm length is next. Arm length, you're going to want to, what we do, Peter Pan it, put your hand on your hip, make your elbow point because that's going to create the longer sleeve. Unless you like having your sleeves go up to, 3 inches above your wrist anytime you bend your arm, or unless you're just going to walk around like a penguin and not move your arms. So Peter Pan it, find the shoulder point, come down and around, and measure to where you want your sleeve. You can have your sleeve right at your wrist. You can have it go down over your hand a little bit. You can make a 3/4 sleeve. However you want to do it, just make sure that you Peter Pan your arm so that way it actually becomes the length that you want. So how about right there, Nana? Good. Good? Okay. You have really long arms. Okay, next measurement is going to be the wrist. There's different ways that you can measure your wrist. You don't want to measure your wrist itself because your hand is larger than your wrist. You need to be able to get your hand through the wrist portion of your sleeve. So there's a couple different ways. You can make the little duck, or you can make a fist. I like making the fist because it creates just a little bit bigger of a hole because I get hot really easy. I like to be able to scoot up my sleeves just a little bit more. In order to do the wrist measurement, you're going to make a fist and then you're going to measure over your knuckles. So I can't really show you, but over your knuckles and all the way around. Here, Nana, thank you. For me, it's generally about 10 inches. If that gives you an idea of, Sheva, did I get the right measurement? And 10.5 inches. There we go. Your next measurement is going to be your chest. This is going to be the largest portion of your chest. You're going to go straight across. Even if you're male or female, you are going to connect the dots. So you have 2 dots on your chest. You're going to connect them, and then you're going to go around. Because generally, if you're wearing a bra, you want to make sure you're wearing a bra that you're going to either wear again with that garment, or if you have a super padded one, put that one on because you might wear it at some point with this garment. And then that way it'll always fit and you don't get the dreaded foreboob if you decide to wear it at some point later. So we're going to do the chest. Pardon my touch and my reach. Good. We're going to go across and put your arms down. Now, another big thing when taking this measurement is you take a deep breath. This guaranteed will add at least a half inch, if not a whole additional inch. Your lungs expand, your chest expands. Imagine that.
We have a question in chat about the measurement. What if your dots are down near your waist?
Okay, if your dots are down near your waist, you're still gonna. If your dots are down near your waist, you want to measure around the biggest part. So if your dots are not where your biggest part is around your chest, then clearly that's not really where you want to measure. Pardon my humor, that's where it is on me. I shouldn't assume that it is where it is on everyone else. That really made me happy. Thank you for that. But no, it's basically where the largest part is that you can slide the tape up and down and not have it have any restriction. So for me, it's right here. I want to be able to go up and down without it like getting stuck. So the biggest part of your bust is where you measure for your chest measurement. And then take a deep breath. If you don't have the dots there, I'm sorry. I'll come measure you personally if that's what you need. I got you. Okay. Next is going to be your natural waist measurement. So a lot of people sometimes get confused and they're like, oh, the waist is right above the hips. No, it is above the hips, but it is not always right above the hips. My natural waist is literally 2 inches below my bust. It's horrible. I have like, there's nothing there. So this dress really comes into play with me because my figure is so squat that I really depend on my natural waist being there and being present. So your natural waist, the way to find your natural waist is you bend side to side, and wherever your hands just sort of kind of gets enveloped in that bend is where your natural waist is. Most women will know where their natural waist is because they can sort of feel the hip bones, and then they sort of kind of squish in, and where it starts to get really squishy, that's your natural waist. Men, it's a little different, mainly because they have a lot more right there. They have a lot more muscle than we have, but that's where you're going to figure out. Bend side to side, put your hand right there, and just sort of kind of figure out where it is and make it like an aerobics video. All right. So Penelope's natural waist, bend to the side, please. The side that my hand is on, please. Stand up straight, goober. All right, bend over. Bend over. Sorry. I just had stuff fall. Ghost, come here. All right. So her natural waist is right here. Take a deep breath. Don't make it smaller if it goes smaller. Never do that. You don't have to hold your breath. There you go. So she is that. Next, you want to do your hip measurement. Your hip measurement is going to be the largest part right here. So pear-shaped people will understand what I'm talking about. You want to be able to move the measuring tape up and over your rear and up without any restriction. This is really important when you're doing your gores, because the way that this dress is, it doesn't have a large area right here. So if you go from, let's say, example, I don't know if this person actually exists, but if you go from like a 30-inch natural waist to a 50-inch hip, they are a pair. That measurement is super important for your gores, because if you don't have those gores correct, it doesn't fit right. So your hips are next. We're going to go like this and come around, sort of kind of fit it around the bum, and just sort of kind of move it up and down. And if it moves up and down, that's at the perfect spot. All right. Next is your armpit to your natural waist. So your armpit measurement, or where to mark your armpit, really is put your finger right here and sort of close your arm down. If you're that comfortable with other people doing it, go ahead. If not, it's okay for you to hold the measuring tape right here by yourself so they don't tickle you, which I might do to my daughter.
No.
So that's going to be where your armpit starts, and then you're going to measure down to your natural waist. Again, your natural waist is where you bend side to side, and you can find it. Most people, this measurement can be anywhere from 8 to 11 inches. It's generally not as much as you think. There are some long torsoed people where they can get upwards of 13 inches, but on women, you don't see that as much. Men, you see it a lot more, just because of the way that they're built. Okay, arm up. Here, you get to put the measuring tape with your hand? Is it there? All right. No. Hold it. Keep holding it. And put your arm back out. Got it? All right. So hers is about 9 inches. That's about right, you know, for her age. Mine, I think, is like 10. So that gives you an idea of what to do. Your next measurement I, is what we're on, by the way. This is going to be your natural waist to your hem. So this is where everything is going to come together and then start to flow out. If you want to make a dress, your hem goes to the floor. If you want to make a tunic, your hem goes to where you want your tunic to end. You know, about the knee is okay for a tunic. If you're going to do a layered tunic, do one at the knee and one just a couple inches up. And it's a great layer because you'll see the under layer and the upper layer. And then just make sure you keep notes of which measurement goes for which thing. When I do my Slavic dresses, you'll see I have a hem that goes down to the floor. And then I have another hem that's about 6 to 8 inches above it. So that way you can see the layering. So natural waist. Do you want tunic or a dress? Or yeah, tunic. Dress. Dress. All right. So I go all the way down to the floor, and then I can either add seam allowance or not, depending on if she wants it to be a pretty fancy dress or if she wants to wear a dress, you know, outside whenever we can get to each other outside again. But that's the way I take that measurement. Okay. Next is going to be your shoulder point to your hem. For women, I do this from the front. That way it makes sure it goes over your bust. That way it's long in the front as long as it needs to be. It goes all the way to where you want your hem to actually be. If you want, you can use the same measurement for your back. So you have a little bit of a train. If you don't want any train, I highly suggest just doing it from the back, and then it'll be a little shorter in the front. This comes into play when we actually lay out our pattern. So I'm always like, I don't mind a train. And if anything, I can trim it once we actually get there. You want a train?
Yes.
All right. So we're going to find the shoulder point. We're going to come down across the front, go all the way down to the floor, and then mark that measurement down. I say floor. I really mean the hem, wherever you're going to have your garment end. Next is going to be shoulder point to shoulder point. Your shoulder point is, it's easy to find once you actually know where it is. It's measured along your back, where the seam of your shirt lays, or at the tip of the shoulder bone. So here are the shoulder points. They're generally where, can you raise your arm up? They're where your shirt doesn't move. That's where it stops moving, which is about right here. Generally, go ahead. No, you're not flying. Put your arm down. Generally, your shoulder point to shoulder point, depending on your size, it can be anywhere from 14 inches, like my 10-year-old, or it can be like 18 inches, like mine, or it can be, you know, any upwards of 21. It really depends on your size. It's okay. Just make sure this is accurate.
Sheva, we have another question in chat. Yeah. Asking if it should be made a bit longer. I'm assuming this is about the hem length. If we're planning on wearing a belt all the time. This person's noticed taking up skirt hems.
So if you are one of those people that blouse your dress over your belt, then yes, you definitely want to make it a little bit longer. Just be wary that you're making this garment to wear the same way. So if you're going to wear this garment and you want to make it for a belt, you always will need to wear that belt, or else it'll always be too long. So just keep that in mind when you make this. If you want to make it for wearing a belt, that's how you would have to do it. Did that answer your question? I'm so sorry.
Yes.
Yes. Beautiful. Okay. So the last measurement is really if you're making a tunic. So instead of going from the natural waist to the floor, If you're making a dress, you're going to go to natural waist to the knee. This is also a convenient measurement to just sort of keep like, oh, I'm going to do this because I want an overdress to go over my underdress. That's fine. That's great. Use this. Just make sure you keep all of your measurements separate from each other, your underdress and your overdress, and I will tell you why. Because your underdress takes up room, imagine that, under your overdress. So if you make the same size overdress as your underdress, it's going to feel really, really tight and really, really uncomfortable. Ask me how I know. So make sure you keep your measurements separate. That way you're not having to remake gores for 4 different outfits because you messed up and did it wrong. That's okay. We're going to try and make it to where you guys learn from my mistakes. So once you have all of your measurements, and I included a chart of a little dummy in the handout. If it doesn't make sense, I'm sorry. I found it and I'm like, oh, that's perfect. And I have to say, I actually found it on my friend Baroness Elena's handout. So I sort of kind of snagged it. But I attributed it to her. I gave her credit. All right, you're ready. Thank you so much. You're amazing. All right. So the next part is math. And I'm going to sit down now because math. Hopefully everyone has a calculator if they want to run through this. If not, that's okay too. Because this is a fitted dress, you really want to be able to rely on the accuracy of your measurements. Your measurements can be, half an inch off here or there. Hopefully on the bigger side. On the smaller side, you might have a bit of a tighter garment. But definitely try not to go smaller, just because if you go too small, it's really, really fitted, and then you're sad when it doesn't fit right. So we're going to move on to the math part. So all of your measurements were allocated a letter. This next portion, if everyone is able to look at the handout, great. If not, I'm sort of going to try and read through it, and if you don't understand something, let me know. But your first measurement is going to be your body length. This is going to go down the whole length of your fabric. That is going to be the longest that you need your fabric. So if your if your J measurement was 50 inches, you're really going to be taking that times 2 and adding 1 inch. The 1 inch gives you a 1/2 inch seam allowance on either end. You are only going to need 100 inch length of fabric. If you take that into consideration, that's what? 3 yards, just over 3 yards of fabric. Not even 36, 108. Yeah, that's under 3 yards. So that's as much as you're going to need for this entire garment. So in order to get your body length, you're going to have your shoulder to hem, times it by 2, add 1, mark it down. Your second measurement is going to be your body width. This is the easy one. This is the shoulder point to shoulder point, and you're going to add 1 inch. Again, that's giving you a 1/2 inch seam allowance on each side. The third measurement is where the fitting comes in. And I love geometry only for this reason. So you have what I've dubbed the fitted gore, because this is what really makes your garment fitted. It turns into this weird trapezoid. I remember the word today, Heather. I was so happy. It's a trapezoid. And what it's going to look like is it's going to look like a funny, like little oblong, weird rectangle thingamabob. That's called a trapezoid. And the way that you measure one side of it, because you took all these measurements and you have to be able to figure out, well, what measurement goes where. Your fitted gore top, the top, this is the piece that's going to be right here at your armpit. You're going to take your chest measurement, and from that, you're going to subtract in the parens is the, oh my goodness, your shoulder point times 2. And so you're going to subtract that from E, and then you're going to divide it by 4. And then you're going to add 1. And you're going to come up with a really weird number. Mine is generally, I think, like 3.75, 4.25, something like that. Essentially what's happening, I'm going to explain it. What's happening is you're taking your entire chest measurement, you're subtracting your body piece from the front and your body piece from the back. And now you have these sides that needs to be taken. Well, these fitted Gore pieces, there's 4 of them. So that's why you're getting the divided by 4, because you need to be able to have that same measurement on each piece. And there's 4 of them. So let's just run a number. So 34, I'm going to try and do this by hand. So forgive me. So K times 2, that's 28. Okay, her E measurement was 34, so 34 minus 28 is 6. And then I'm going to do 6 divided by 4. It's going to be a really weird number. I think it's like 1.5 or something like that.
It's exactly 1.5.
Look, I can math. This is great. This homeschooling thing has been amazing. Your fitted Gore length is easier. This is your measurement that's going from your armpit to your natural waist. So that's an easy one. Your fitted Gore bottom is also going to be the same as your skirt Gore top. So your fitted Gore is up here. Your skirt Gores are down here. And I named them that just so that we can like not get confused with which Gore is what Gore, because there's so many freaking Gores in this dress. There are 8 Gores in this dress. 4 on each side, 2 fitted ones, 2 skirt ones on each side. So your fitted Gore bottom is going to be, I want to say smaller. It's totally smaller because you want to go for your bust to your natural waist. And on a lot of people, not all people, a lot of people, that generally goes down. There are some people it goes like that, but some people, most people, it goes down. If you're one of those that goes up, that's fine. Still do the garment. It'll still look amazing. So in this case, just to run through it again, you know, her K times 2 is 28. Her F is 29. Oh my God. So that leaves 1 inch. So her bottom piece would be 1/4 of a freaking inch. That's horrible. I am never making her a Slavic that small for her to be fitted. I make hers my size. That way she has a little bit more growing room. But for you, you most likely aren't growing anymore. You know, unless, of course, you're still in puberty, which if you are, yay, I'll help you out still with the same thing. Just give me a call. So then we move on to the skirt Gore length. This isn't, oh, how did I get that in there? Hold on. That's wrong. Hold on, I have a wrong measurement in there. I'm sorry. So your skirt Gore length is really easy. Your skirt Gore length is, it goes from your natural waist down to the floor. I don't know how I got that measurement in there. It's wrong. If you guys are looking at this, I'm so sorry. So we're just sort of going to take that out. We're just going to go like that. Okay. And then the bottom of your skirt Gore, you can generally, hold on, back up, rewind. Skirt Gore length is going to be your eye measurement, your natural waist down to your hem. Your skirt Gore width at the bottom, like how wide you're going to have it at the bottom of your skirt, is pretty much to your own taste. Do you want it super flowy? Do you not want it super flowy? If you want it super flowy, go to 20 inches. If you don't want it super flowy, go to 15 inches. If you're making it for someone who doesn't want any flowy, sort of kind of play around. I wouldn't go any smaller than 12 inches though. And that's just because if you're wearing a tunic, you're most likely going to be wearing a belt and you want to be able to blouse it. And it's really hard to blouse something that doesn't have a little bit of floof down at the bottom of the skirt. and so that's your fitted gores and your skirt gores. For your the rest of your garment, we're going to talk about your sleeve. So I'm going to tell you how to measure out for your sleeve, but I'm also going to caveat this with the way that you cut out the pattern. You can also fit your sleeve once your garment is made. I've done it both ways. Both ways are fine. Both ways are correct. It's whatever's easiest for you and how specific you want to get. So one thing that is for sure always a thing with your sleeve is your arm size. So your sleeve head. This is going to be your V measurement and then add an inch. For your sleeve length, will always be a thing. It will be your sleeve length and add an inch. So your C measurement and add an inch. For your wrist, this is where it can sort of kind of go either way. It's going to be your wrist measurement and you add an inch. Now, when you're actually piecing the dress together, or when you're actually cutting out the dress, the way that you cut out the sleeves, you don't do the wrist portion at that time. You do it once everything is cut out, and then you're able to like cut your angles down. A way that I make it is I generally just make the rectangle and then I just sort of kind of pin it to my arm, because do I want it tight? Do I want it looser? Do I want like a dishwashing dress? What do I want to do with my sleeves really determines how I make them. So if you go down to the next page on the handout, you'll see my very crude illustration. I took a piece of paper and I pretty much lined out the way that I made the pattern. This is how I lay out the fabric and make it to where I use almost every single piece of fabric to the most that I can. And then the scraps that I have left over, they are rectangular. And so I can use it for my neckline if I want to do a fancy lined neck. I can make a haversack out of it. I can keep it for trim for later for something else. Because of the way that this fabric is cut and the way that there's leftover, it's usable again. You're not ending up with the weird triangle pieces that you really have a hard time using for anything other than, stuffing a doll for the EK toy box, which is cool. So continue doing that. But you can see where you have the length of the fabric is where your body is. For me, because I'm short, my skirt gore length, it can generally go across the fabric down to the bottom. And I just sort of kind of play with the width and length, like, do I want it really flowy or not? Then you can see right by that, I have two rectangles. Those are my sleeves I cut out. And then right below, or to the right on this picture, you see where I have my fitted gores. Now, please remember, this is not to scale. I just didn't have time to actually draw out a pattern on a piece of fabric and put a bunch of masking tape on it so you can see it behind me. So instead, I included an illustration in this handout. And if you have any questions of Sheva, what the heck did you draw? Please let me know. I will walk you through it person to person. I've done it before. I will do it again. So once your pieces are all cut out, if you scroll down to the next page, you will see exactly what you should end up with. You're going to end up with one very long rectangle, 4 smaller trapezoids, 2 sleeves, and 4 larger trapezoids. All of these illustrations are numbered. And if you realize how we did the math, each of the math problems were numbered. Those are where the measurements go on this. So piecing it all together there's a couple different ways. But first and foremost, do your neckline before you do anything else. Make your life easier. because if you want a pretty placard, you need your fabric to be straight. If you want to do a lined neck, your fabric needs to be straight. I don't like curved seams, let alone a curved neckline on something that's already folded in half. That is not my idea of fun. So sew your neckline first. Just trust me, it will make your life so much easier. If you have problems finding where your neckline is, since it's all laid out because you didn't have to do a front panel and a back panel, it's all one piece, easy peasy. Fold your fabric in half long ways and fold it in half again the other way. And then you can just sort of kind of crease the corner, and that's going to find the exact center of your fabric. Now, if you're using linen, you can go ahead and use your fingernails, and you can scratch against linen, and linen naturally creases. So then once you lay it back out flat, you'll have the perfect cross to find out where your perfect center is. Now, when you're doing your neckline, just remember, you don't want your neckline going up to here again, unless you're in that period. But what you do want is you want just a bare bone minimum going in the back. A, because sunburn is a thing. And B, it is more comfortable. I mean, if you want a really deep neckline in the back, that's cool. But your circle, your neckline should be kilter. So I do about 2/3 of the circle in the front, 1/3 in the back, and it creates a really nice neckline. This is also the time if you want to do a keyhole. The keyhole is the piece that, or it's basically just a cut that goes down. And then when it's finished, you put a brooch right here. If you do a keyhole, this is also the time that you put in the keyhole. If anyone's interested, we can go over necklines in a different class and how to apply placards, how to do the lined neckline. That way it's when it's lined, it lays so nice and flat, and it's really fun because you can use your brooches and you don't have to be scared about ripping out a seam because there's so much fabric there. It's perfect. It's so much stronger. So that's the first and foremost when you piece it all together. Just do your neckline first, and then we can move on. So there's 2 ways to put this dress together. It depends on how technical and finicky you like to be. So I've done it both ways, and I like doing it both ways. Sometimes I'll do it one way, sometimes I'll do it the other. It just sort of kind of depends on where I am. If I have a lot of room, I'll do it the second way. If I don't have a lot of room, I'll do it the first way. If I'm trying to teach how to do it, I show both ways. So that's what I'm going to do today. Well, I'm going to tell you how to do both ways. And if we ever get together and you're like, Sheva, I really want to see this happen, we'll make it happen. So after you finish sewing your neckline, one way to sew it is sew your fitted gores length side together. So again, the length is what's going from the armpit to the natural waist. So it's straight. It's not the angled cut. It's the straight cut. Put your straight cuts together and do that for 1 set of gores and 2 set of gores. So now you have left and right panels. We're going to start using left and right now. So your left set and your right set. If you are going to be doing hand finishing, this is when you're going to iron everything down. And then do your rolled. And so that way you can do any hand finishing that you want to do. It's easier when they're all getting pieced together to do the ironing. Trust and believe. I know you know. Now you're going to do the same thing with your skirt gores, your left set and your right set. Again, the length sides go together. The angle sides are sort of kind of hanging out there. And again, do your pressing if you're going to be doing any hand finishing. If you're going to roll them, if not, if you're just going to splay them, however you want to do it. If you're going to do hand finishing, now's the best time to do the ironing. Once you have your fitted gores sewn together and your skirt gores sewn together, then you're going to take 1 set of fitted gores, 1 set of skirt gores, and match up the seams. So then you're going to end up with a wonky shape that you saw a couple pages above. Just so that way it's going to make this line go down and like this, and then down. It makes pretty much an oblong hourglass is probably the best way to describe it. And then from there, you sort of kind of go down with your sleeve. So your sleeve is a little funny. And this one way may seem like, Shava, what are you doing? What are you trying to get me to do? Trust me, it's fine. It works great. But this may not be the way for you, but I'm going to explain it anyway. So for your sleeve, what you're going to do is you're going to sew it up from the wrist to the armpit. So now it's just a tube. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take that bottom seam that would be at your armpit, and you're going to line it up with your gores and piece it together that way, as far out each way as your gore will go. So now you basically have a sleeve with gores hanging down. That's it. And then you're going to do the same for the other side. And it's going to look really, really funny. But then what's going to happen is you're going to match the center of your sleeve to the center of your body piece. And starting from the center, so down one side, go back up, and go down the other side. It is literally a straight line. There's no wonky sewing in gussets or sewing in gores. It literally becomes just the straight line to go straight down. So every single seam that you have done has now been nothing but a straight line, which is really handy. And I love straight lines. I don't know about you, but I don't like curved seams. And then you repeat for the other side, and you have a dress. Your neckline's already done, which is awesome. Now you can roll hem your sleeves, or you can make some bias out of silk and put it on there and give it a little bit of pizzazz. You can hand finish your hem. You can stamp on it if you want. You can do silk around your hem. I mean, if you do silk around your hem, maybe keep that dress inside, but that's just me. That's just me. And then you just go on and go on. And now you have an underdress, a fitted underdress, and it fits you because it's measured to you or to whoever you made it for. But just remember, you need to add your seam allowance. And if you're going to make the same style of dress as an overdress, add maybe another inch. So instead of, being 30 inches plus 1, do 31 inches plus 1. That gives you just a little bit of play, which is nice, especially if you're going to be, wearing 2 layers of linen. It's you need that extra little bit. Okay, so on to the second way on how to piece it together. So once you have your neckline done, again, necklines first, don't do anything until it's done. You're going to take your sleeve, and here's your sleeve head, and here's your sleeve length. That's all you need to worry about right now. Sleeve head, sleeve length. You're going to take one of your fitted gores, and with the angle pointing towards where the wrist is, you're going to sew it to this side of the sleeve head on the length side. And then you're going to do the same thing with the other fitted gore that's for that side. So in this one, the gores aren't sewn together yet at all. They're still individual. They are single. They are hooking up with that sleeve first. And again, the angle is pointing towards the wrist. Right? Hold on. I think I just confused myself. No, sorry. The straight side, the length side is pointing towards the wrist. The angle side is pointing towards the sleeve head. I'm sorry. And then from there, you're going to attach the skirt gores, again, with the length edge of the gore pointing towards where the wrist is, the angle pointing towards where the body would be. And then you're going to do the same side to the other side. So it's going to be a really weird tee. So here's the sleeve. I didn't make an illustration of this. It's horrible. Here's the sleeve. Then you're going, what this on the screen. Here's the sleeve, and then here's your fitted gores, and then here are your skirt gores. So you're going to end up with this really long piece of material. And then you're going to do the same thing on the other side. And then you're going to, again, find the center of the sleeve, the center of the body, start from the top, go down, start from the top, go down, front and back, do it on the other side. And then, this seems like so many more steps. But when you get easily confused, like I remember one of the two ways and I'm able to make a dress and it works. But then once you finish, you start from the wrist and then you go down to the armpit and then all the way down to the hem. So again, it's just a straight line. Every single seam that you've made is a straight line, and it makes life so much easier when it's nothing but straight lines. And again, that's when you're going to start doing your finishing. You're going to do whatever you're going to do on the wrists, whatever you're going to do on the hem. This second way isn't as easy when it comes to the hand finishing, ironing as you go part. Maybe that's why you would do the first way. Maybe you're in a rush and that's why you do the second way. Both ways, you still end up with your fitted garment. And hopefully you want to continue making this pattern because it really looks amazing. And it's good for men, women, children. But the children, maybe not make it so fitted because they're definitely going to grow. So again, this is something that you need to have fun with when you wear it. If you want to make it looser, make it looser. If you want to make it super form-fitting, go you. Be bold, be strong with it. Just make sure to have fun with it because this is your clothing that you're wearing. And it has some solid seams. So I think I even have a fighting tunic made in this pattern, which is great. So I'm sure there's probably some questions, which I will take now. No?
Sheva, how do you finish your seams on the inside? Like, not pretty seam finishes on the outside, but like, what's your philosophy on, like, you know, what the insides of the seam should look like?
So I do a running stitch with my machine to piece everything together. And depending on what I'm using the garment for, if I'm not hand finishing it to make my decorative seams from the outside, I serge that. Because why not? That's the only reason I wouldn't serge it, is if I'm doing hand finishing.
So we also had a couple of comments in chat. One person, definite vote for the neckline class. So something to think about. And someone definitely wants to come to your house for a personal fitting in the future.
We got that. I can do that. That was easy. Look, I got done in an hour.
So I just linked the handout again into chat. So Walter, if you didn't see it before in chat, it's there for you now. We have a second vote for the neckline class as well.
Oh, wonderful. I think the head wrap class is next, but we'll see what we can do.
Does anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, how did I do? Is this an okay patterning class to do virtually? That was really challenging.
So there's one more question that's labeled itself as a semi-tangent. I have an issue with hemlines. How can I get them straight with just yourself? Is this an issue with this pattern at all?
So I believe that is an issue with almost every freaking pattern there is on earth. But there is definitely a way that you can do a straight hemline with any early period dress. And I am going to tell you how. You are going to take it and lay it out flat on the floor. So before you do anything, don't cut anything when it comes to your bottom hem. Lay it out flat on the floor. Lay out your dress pieces. And because this is a symmetrical pattern, you can literally line up your body with the body, the gores with the gores, and you have nothing but your straight seam going out the side, right? So here's your dress. It's doing this, and it's coming out, and then it's trying to lay flat. But it's not laying flat because it's a pain in the butt. What you're going to do is from your skirt point to your body point, you're going to figure out where the wonkiness is, and you will draw a line from point A to point B. So what's going to happen is you're going to end up cutting off like this weird triangle looking piece. And then from there, you're going to do that on the other side. And then you're going to put it on. And it's going to be straight, which is amazing because geometry. It's a lot harder to do hemlines with curved gowns where they actually have a lot more gores. The fewer the gores, the straighter you can get your hemline on your own. If you're still having troubles, another way to do it is to, again, lay it down flat and just sort of kind of eyeball where the awkwardness is. And then again, from your gores to your body, draw that straight line from the point of the gore to the point of the body to where, again, you're going to have the weird triangle piece. And then, you know, try and make sure that your body piece is straight too, because even after all this, and even after you have all the straightness, your body piece might still be wonky and might have like a little wonk going on to it with a weird little triangle that's just kind of hanging out there. So if you go from your point to your gore to your body point to the next body point, making sure you get rid of all that awkwardness. And then again, you know, going from the other gore point to the body point, getting rid of that weird triangle. That pretty much makes the straight hem once it's on your body. And if you want, we can discuss it later. I'll show you how. Because my kids don't sew yet. My husband doesn't sew yet. So I have a lot of practice when I have to do my own hem.
So, clarification question from the chat. So what you're cutting off is essentially an upside down trapezoid, or is it a triangle that you're cutting off?
Yes.
Because I heard you talking, and I understood it as triangle, but they were asking if it was a trapezoid, and so I realized, I'm like, maybe I didn't understand.
No, I want to say every time that I cut it, it becomes a triangle. There's only 3 sides. So I don't know if I can draw it. I'm going to try though. So a body piece, gore. Let's say your gore looks something like this. Hold on. No, I can't draw it. I'm a horrible artist. So if you can see this, I don't know if you can. You can see your body piece and your gores, right? Now, to make that a straight hem, you're going to cut from point A to point B. So you're going to cut from here to here, right? And then what ends up coming off is like this weird triangle piece, because your gore had come down just a little past your body, but it's perfect over here at the point. So when you sew in your gores, it's, I don't know why, even if you measure it perfectly, it always comes down like maybe that much past where your body is. So that's what you need to cut off. But you don't want to cut off that whole amount going up to your gore, or else your gore is going to do this weird wonky thing where it's not going to be long enough on the sides. So where your gore is pieced together as far out as you can go, which is right here. There we go. You want to measure from your body to that point in order to get rid of that excess. That way you're keeping your gore where it needs to be for when it falls down and drapes at your sides. It still is the same length as the rest of your dress. So yes, it comes off as a triangle.
All right. Any other questions? Well, if not, I'm going to say thank you to Sheva, and I'm going to stop recording now.
Wait.
Okay.
Sorry. So again, thank you to all of the ministers and deputies of the Office of the Arts and Sciences for the East Kingdom for continuing to make these classes possible during this horrible time. And I really look forward to seeing all the other artisans continuing to do the same. And I want to see all your pretty art.
Oh, thank you, Sheva, and thank you everyone for coming. And now I'm really stopping recording.
Thank you, bye.